hitting us up on the Rumble. Good morning, hello, and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is about interesting and important events and happenings that occurred on this calendar date throughout the annals of recorded history. I am Xander. I will be joined by the Golden Loon at some point. And of course, you, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. You know, whether you're watching us live or at some other point in the space-time continuum is irrelevant. As I say, a view is a view. Anyway, let's start off with the history today, shall we? In the year 4000 BC is the approximate date of the domestication of the horse in the Eurasian steppes near Derevika in central Ukraine. This is hypothesis only. There's no way to really validate anything from 6,000 years ago. But, yeah. Moving up to 1215, that's a hell of a time jump there. Peking, or modern-day Beijing, which was then a city of over 1 million people, under the control of Jurchen ruler Emperor Zhuangzong of Jin, was captured and looted for a month by the Mongols under Genghis Khan. 1283, Albert I, son of Rudolf I of Habsburg, made sole ruler of the duchies of Austria and Styria under the Treaty of Rheinfelden, removing his brother Rudolf II as co-ruler. This later led to Rudolf's son murdering his uncle. That's family strife right there. And I think we're actually going to be talking about like a horrific family issue later on down the line. But first, from off of main source here, 1298, residents of Riga and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania defeated the Livonian Order in the Battle of Turada. What is the Livonian Order, you may ask? Well, let's look this up really quick, shall we? And while doing that, we are being joined by
the Golden Loon.
Welcome to the show.
Did I hear Khan?
Yes, you did hear Khan. I was talking about Genghis Khan, but I had to, like, you know, every time I mention a Khan, I have to.
I understand.
Even though I have never seen one episode of Star Trek in my life. You know, like I've seen a movie or two, I've seen clips, but I've never seen not even like the original or the remake of The Wrath of Khan. You know, I've never seen that movie, but even I, you know, thanks to the internet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Vicious man.
Yeah, he was.
What?
1459, Pope Pius II opened the Council of Mantua to call for a new crusade against the Ottoman Empire. The crusade never amounts to much, and the council was later disbanded in January of 1560. So 101 years later. 101 years you couldn't wage a holy war?
Really?
Are you kidding me? And is this even picking up my external audio? Let me see.
Hope so.
Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, well, it's picking up us, but okay. I was wondering because like it doesn't look like it's picking up the background music. Do I even have the music playing? Yeah, I do. Okay, so it kind of is. Anyway, moving on to we got that one in 1495. We have the first written record of Scotch whiskey appeared in the Exchequer Rolls of Scotland. Friar John Core is listed as a distiller. From our other source here, a monk, John Core, recorded the first known batch of Scotch whiskey. And actually, I forgot. You know, I keep forgetting about the pictures. This is from our first article today was from 4000 BC.
4000?
4000 BC. I'll reread it for you because it's pretty important. It's the approximate domestication of the horse in the Eurasian steppes near Derevika in central Ukraine. This is a hypothesis only. So it's hypothesized that on this date in 4000 BC is when we first domesticated the horse.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we can't validate something that's 6,000 years old.
4,000.
No,
BC,
and it's 2,000. So you know it's 6,000 years, 6,025. But like right here, horse domestication history, modern times. You know, early years, 1900 years ago, websites. But it, obviously, you know, in this area where humans were first becoming like more humans.
Tremendous power for the human being.
Oh, definitely.
Whoever had the horse.
Yeah, actually, and horses were not native to North America.
I knew that. Yeah,
so you know that's on top of the other technological advances.
Who brought them, but
Spain.
Okay.
The Spanish primarily. I mean, like the English settlers and all that stuff. They brought horses and all that stuff as well, but predominantly Spain. So I believe. And here's a picture of a 1495 Scotch whiskey. And speaking of Star Trek,
but we're talking. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
I was just I had it up here. But let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Wait, that's not it. This scene.
Mark, all I have is a bottle of very, very, very old scotch. Whiskey! Well, I will try it. I'll get it.
Like, I love the way he said whiskey. It's just old scotch. And clearly he's not understanding. Whiskey! You imbecile! Moving on up, what else do we got? 1215, not 2015. In the year 1215, actually, no, we got that one. Okay, here we go. Now we're caught up. 1543, Flemish physician Andreas Vesalius published De Humani Corporis Fabrica, or On the Fabric of the Human Body, in 7 books. A major step forward in understanding human anatomy. This date is representative as exact date of publication unknown. So once again, we have an approximation.
I wonder if this Flemish physician brought phlegm to us.
Well, right as I was coughing,
yeah,
right, like,
yeah, good timing,
perfect. But here's an excerpt of this book right here.
Oh,
so
yikes.
The human skeleton. Well, I mean, studying anatomy and all that stuff, and like. I don't want to get into it, but how we discovered the workings of the digestive system is a horror story in and of itself.
I don't think I want to know.
Well, I can get into a little bit of it if you want me to.
No, let's move on.
Okay. 1568, the Duke of Alva oversaw the beheading of 18 nobles in Brussels as part of Council of Trouble / Council of Blood. Yikes. 1638, we have the first earthquake recorded in the U.S. at Plymouth in Massachusetts.
And what was it on the Richter scale?
Well, I don't think the Richter scale was invented by then.
No, it wasn't. I'm being sarcastic.
But what would it? Yeah, that is a good question. Like, it was recorded. What would it be surmised to be? Like, I can take a surface level scratch on this. The 1868 New Hampshire earthquake. Magnitude 6.5 plus or minus 0.5. So around 6 to 6.5.
Idea of it. I wonder how they figure that out.
Well, maybe from damages and testimonials. I don't know.
Anyways,
science.
That's a decent earthquake.
Yeah. 1657, the first Quakers arrived in New Amsterdam, now known as New York. A lot of people don't realize that New York, Manhattan, all that stuff, was actually called New Amsterdam. It was settled by the Dutch, and then the British during some Anglo-Dutch war in Europe. They also were over here, and then they took it. And at some point, I think the Dutch took it back, but then the British took it back, and then now it's still New York. So,
well, I just wonder, speaking of earthquakes, if the Quakers brought it with them. Sorry, I'm making puns today.
Well,
today is a pun day.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say that requires, some brain power that needs a good breakfast of oats. Quaker oatmeal.
Oh, good.
Come on.
Oh man,
wow, you were in
that one.
You were in the zone. Like, when did I lose you? Come on.
Oh, that was a stretch, but yet it was there.
It wasn't a stretch.
I didn't pick it up.
I'm just horsing around. But speaking of the Quakers and all that stuff, just 3 years later on the same exact calendar date, 1660, Mary Dyer was hanged for defying a law banning Quakers from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So a Quaker was executed because they were banned from being there, and she got there and they hung her. They weren't messing around back then. Yeah, well, life is brutal. 10 years later, 1670, English King Charles II and French King Louis XIV signed a secret anti-Dutch treaty. Now, that would have normally not made it into the show if it wasn't for our other source here that says, in Dover, England, Charles II of England and Louis XIV of France signed the secret treaty of Dover, which will force England into the Third Anglo-Dutch War. Whoa. That's, okay.
Yeah, that gives a little more significance.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that.
Yeah, that's why I used 2 sources.
Yeah.
So, and I wish I had the time and ability to use more, but I'm only one guy. I do a lot of work for this. So, 1773, Wolrand Wolmete rescued 14 sailors at the Cape of Good Hope from a sinking ship, the De Jong. Thomas by riding his horse into the sea 7 times.
Wow.
Both he and his horse, Conk, unfortunately drowned on his 8th attempt.
Yike.
So, but yeah. Here's a picture of it. Like,
Yeah.
into his horse, and like, oh my God, like, you want to talk about a hero, you know?
Yeah.
Like 7 times, and then drowned on the 8th. I mean, like he literally risked his life until his last breath to save other people, and that is a hero to mankind.
Well, he didn't risk his life; he gave his life.
Yeah, well, he risked it and then ultimately gave it. So, 1774, the Boston Port Act. Following the passage of the act, the British government ordered Port of Boston closed to punish colonists for the Boston Tea Party. So instead of sitting here being like, okay, they're getting pissed, let's listen to them. No, I have an idea. Let's piss them off more. Yeah, because that'll work out very well. Then we had a little thing called the Revolution, and they lost us. So, yeah, good job.
The power never listens.
Yeah.
They just stifle it.
Uh-huh.
Always.
Yeah, and it's, how has that played out through all of history? So,
Got the camera on me. Gotta break the damn thing.
1779, the court-martial for malfeasance of Benedict Arnold, a general in the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, began. Yes, and anyone in this country, in the States at least, knows that that's a massive insult to call somebody a Benedict Arnold because he changed sides.
Yeah.
He gave information to the British and all that stuff because he believed that we were going to lose, so he decided to go, fight for the winning team.
Well,
How Italian.
Do we know that he changed sides? Or
Yes.
Did he always side with the imperialists?
That is a good question.
But just covered it up to spy for him.
That is a good question. Like, was he always a turncoat, or did he change his mind at some point?
We do call him the turncoat. He
Well, he
represents
is.
that, but I was
He
just
is. He is the U.S. slang for as bad as you can be.
because not everyone was for separation. A lot of them were for the English to stay.
Yeah, well, because they didn't want the war. They didn't want violence. Because they knew what would happen is what happened. It would come into their home, not just on their land and people dying on their front porch. They will be going into their homes and fighting,
but
urban
it's
warfare.
even more than that. A lot of people are thriving with that system. Don't screw it up.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of people don't realize. The majority of the founding fathers, and I mentioned before that they were kids and all that stuff, but they had everything to lose.
Yeah.
They had wealth, they had influence, they had power, they had their lives set up for them. They could have just stayed in line and lived a prosperous, wealthy, good life. But no, it's not about what they can have, it's about what's right versus what's wrong. And, the oppression that we were getting from the British Crown was just too much. Get this boot off my neck. Don't tread on me, So,
But the elites do that today.
yeah, and,
I don't know.
yeah, and the closest we ever got in recent times was, I would say, the Occupy Wall Street movement. And then ever since then, everything's gone completely tits up.
Well, the Occupy Wall Street wasn't the elites.
Well, no, it was the people, and they got too close to the actual truth, to realizing how much the system is against them, and then they started doing all the stuff that they did in 2016, up to 2020, up to today, and then now they didn't even know what bathroom to use anymore. Everybody's just completely crazy.
Wow.
They've screwed us up. Anyway, moving on up to 1789, the first U.S. Congressional Act became law on administering oaths. Well, that would make sense.
Administering what?
Oath, oath in office.
Okay.
I do solemnly swear to, whatever, when you're inducting a president or whatever,
I thought you said oats.
No, not again. No, not this time. 1792, Kentucky was admitted as the 15th state of the United States of America. Yeah, it would be the
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. It wouldn't be the first time we're. Well, no, it's not going to be the last time we're going to be talking about this in today's
I wonder why
show.
states don't celebrate their 4th of July, so to speak.
Yeah, their statehood. Their
Yeah,
statehood.
their statehood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you celebrate it when it became a territory, when it became occupied, when it became a statehood?
I'm just saying it's no longer a territory, it's now a state.
Yeah.
You just want
But what do you celebrate? Do you celebrate the statehood, or do you celebrate it? Do you celebrate what made it become a statehood and recognizing when it became a territory?
You only celebrate what it became as long as it's still that.
Yeah.
if the statehood dissolved, you wouldn't celebrate it anymore.
True. 1794, we have glorious 1st of June, the first naval battle between Britain under Admiral Lord Howe and France under Vice Admiral Louis Thomas Villaret de Joyeuse. You see these French in their names. During the French Revolutionary Wars, Britain gained a tactical win. From our other source here, the Battle of the Glorious 1st of June was fought, the first naval engagement between Britain and France during the French Revolutionary Wars. So actually that's the same. I can get rid of that because all that's already covered. 1796, last of Britain's troops withdrew from the USA. So their occupying force and all that stuff. It took until 1796, 20 years after we declared independence. So,
Yeah.
but we finally got them out of here.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yep. Actually, just under 20 years because June's coming up and then July.
June's here.
Well, yeah, June is here and then July. So like just a month shy
Yeah.
of 20 years
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
That's pretty
20
crazy.
years. Yeah, 20 years.
So, 1796 as well, Tennessee, hey, was admitted as the 16th state of the United States of America. That's where I was born.
See,
So.
I have an answer for my own question about celebrating, and here we are with the state again.
Okay.
Why would you celebrate giving up your independence? You're a territory. You're independent. That territory is itself.
Well, I mean,
now you're becoming into a nation and answering to the federal government.
kind of, sort of, yeah. I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But you're celebrating becoming part of something bigger, not
Yeah.
necessarily not necessarily
you're giving up your independence.
You're not
for something better.
But are you though? If your independence, like principles align with what you're joining,
The simple answer is federal law.
Yeah.
Trumps.
That's a
state
discussion.
law.
That's a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone out there watching, please leave a comment. Remind us. It'd probably be a good discussion for IOIO.
Yeah.
So. 1808, the first U.S. land-grant university was founded as Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. Ohio. Well, that's pretty cool. 1809, Allardyce Barclay began a bet of walking 1 mile every hour for 1,000 hours. Each hour he walked a mile round trip from his home. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. 1812, the War of 1812, U.S. President James Madison asked the Congress to declare war on the United Kingdom. Well, I'm pretty sure, was this before or after they invaded the Capitol and burnt down the White House?
What's the date again?
1812. Well,
the War of 1812.
You know what? We have the technology.
So it's got to be right at the time.
When did the British burn down the White House? August 24th, 1814. So it was a couple years later.
Before.
Okay.
No, before.
Yeah, no. The article is before. The burning down is after this. Okay.
No wonder why I want to declare war.
Well, I think they tried to invade or something in 1812 because that's
like they did. That's what I always came up with.
Well, let's look this up. Why did the War of 1812 start? The War of 1812 was fought because yada yada yada. It began when the United States declared war on Britain. So we started it.
But they did something, and then we declared war on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just saying it began when the U.S. declared war. It's not saying the U.S. declared war because of this.
Well, there's a reason why we declared war. We didn't say.
Was it? Was there though? I mean, if you look at our history, there's been so many.
Powerful country even then.
Yeah, and we wanted to take the mantle.
Don't willy-nilly say, let's just fight the Brits again. There had to be something.
That is a good, another
reason for declaration.
Yeah. Why did the USA declare war on Britain in 1812? That's a good question. It's just giving me the same thing. Causes of war. Okay, what is this? The U.S. wanted to expand its territory to the north and west. So they wanted to expand, probably going up into Canada, because Canada got involved in that too.
Canada, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a settlement they took.
There are serious economic problems because Britain was blocking American trade as a consequence of the Napoleonic War in Europe. This made it hard for the young nation to grow. British troops were also in areas along the Great Lakes and were believed to be helping Native Americans attack U.S. settlers. Okay.
Did that have something to do with France then? We were buddies with France? So they restricted our trade?
Probably. I mean, in the very least,
We
France.
don't know enough of our history.
The British, The British Navy was stopping American ships and forcing American sailors to work on their ships, taking away their freedom. All these issues were made many American. Okay, so the British were doing little pokey pokes.
Yeah, see how far they can go, and if they get that far, they go a little further.
Yeah, if you give a mouse a cookie, you know.
Camel under the tin.
Yep. 1813, Captain John Lawrence uttered the Navy motto, "Don't give up the ship." Huh. We say the same thing in HCNS. You, as a driver, you go down, you know. 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte swore fidelity to the Constitution of France. And from our other source here, it says Napoleon promulgated a revised constitution after it passed a plebiscite. All right. 1831, British explorer James Clark Ross discovered the magnetic North Pole on the west coast of Boothia Peninsula. And James Clark Ross, now here's something else. James Clark Ross became the first European at the North Magnetic Pole. So, North European, the first, why does it say that?
So how do they discover it? With a compass and it flips around?
I guess so.
I don't know when we had compasses, but it had to be something like that.
Yeah. That's another question. When was the compass invented? When was the compass invented? History of the compass. Okay, I know what the compass does. Just tell me. Okay, yada yada, blah, 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 blah. The history of the compass started more than 2,000 years ago during the Han Dynasty.
Wow, okay.
From 202 BC to 220 AD, the first compasses were made of lodestone, a naturally magnetized stone of iron in Han Dynasty, China. It was called the South Pointing Fish, and it was used for land navigation by the mid-11th century during the Song Dynasty. Sen Kuo provided the first explicit description of a magnetized needle in 1088, and Zhu Yu mentioned its use in maritime navigation in the text Ping Zhou Table Talks, dated between 1111 and 1117. Jeez. Later compasses were made of iron needles, magnetized by striking them with a lodestone, yada yada yada.
Wow.
So, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So. And that that's the Mongols. That's China. China. I'd say, I guess, Mongols invented. Right? Is that what it said? Mongols invented the compass for land navigation. That would make sense because they had such a vast empire. So.
Well, they were established humanity.
Yeah. So
you do discover stuff as you go.
But to anybody who's questioning, what do you mean magnetic North Pole? There are two North Poles, there are two South Poles, and we also have a comment from Bops. To be honest, I also thought you said oats.
Thank you! Thank you!
But no, there's the geographic North Pole, which is, there's the North and South, but magnetic, it's moving around constantly. And I think, somewhere in, 2012 or whatever, the magnetic North Pole was in, Michigan or something. It's been down. It's gotten way down. So, and that's all part of, the polarity shift thing.
Yeah,
so,
well, they say we can flip top to bottom.
Yeah. But I still want to know, why this said European and not person. I mean, he happens to be European, but saying he's the first European and not person, period, implies somebody non-European got there first. And who was that? So, wording, please. Moving on up to 1843, Sojourner Truth heard the Spirit of God and changed her name from Isabella Baumfree, leaving New York to begin traveling, giving speeches against slavery. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, yeah. 1845, a homing pigeon completed an 11,000-kilometer trip from Namibia to London in 55 days. What's that in freedom units?
That's one tired-ass pigeon.
How many hamburgers per football field is 11,000 kilometers? I want to know. 1848, we got revolutionary newspaper New Rheinische Zeitung, founded by Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and the Communist League in Cologne. Yikes. We got to cover the bad with the good, Yeah. So, yeah. I just got a DM here. Okay. Anyway, 1849, territorial governor Alexander Ramsey declared the territory of Minnesota officially established. Minnesota, don't
territory.
you know? Yeah, the territory.
So, should we celebrate the territory?
That's what I was asking.
No, it's not a territory anymore.
No, this is not a statehood. This is a territory.
Yes, so that's why you wouldn't celebrate it, because you're now a state, not a territory.
But this is when it's a territory. So would they have a territory celebration until it become a state?
Yes, of course.
Okay. 1854, Allen War. The British Navy destroyed merchant ships and about 16,000 tar barrels of the wholesale stocks area in Oulu, Grand Duchy of Finland. What is a tar barrel? Like, I've never heard of that term. Do you know that then?
No, I've never heard of it either.
Tar barrel, 1854. Like, let's see if I can find it. Allen War. Okay, and we got the Allen War. I'm not seeing any tar barrels. Beginning of the war. Okay. Well, I don't have the time to look this up live, so if anybody can let us know in the comment section what the heck a tar barrel is. It's some unit of measurement, I presume. 1855, U.S. adventurer William Walker conquered Nicaragua and reestablished slavery. That doesn't sound good.
No, that doesn't sound good at all.
And, like, you know, I had it from our previous script, and I don't have this footnote in there. Judging by this being a leftist source, did he really reestablish slavery, or did they put this in because it's a really old article and nobody's going to look it up and nobody, you know, is live, you know, from that time? Are they just trying to be like, oh, U.S. man bad? You know, is this a propaganda, you know, slip-in?
Or Nicaragua was it ever abolished before he restated it? Maybe it was all underground.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're making a lot of noise here for nothing. It's horrible.
It is.
Whatever it is, it's horrible.
1861, we have the first skirmish in the U.S. Civil War at Fairfax Courthouse, Virginia. So, yeah, and the Battle of Fairfax Courthouse was fought in the American Civil War, first skirmish. So I guess this is when it really... Although it's credited with the Fort Sumter thing. You know,
what year is that now?
1861.
Okay.
So same year. 1861 as well, British territorial waters and ports were off limits during the Civil War. Okay. You know, they just...
Yeah.
You got, you know, you kids go squabble, you know, leave mom and dad alone, you know. 1861 as well, U.S. Confederacy simultaneously stopped mail interchange. We spoke about this a couple days ago, where the North stopped sending mail to the South because of the war. Or I think that might have been beforehand. So, 1862, the African Slave Trade Treaty Act, bilateral treaty between the U.S. and U.K. abolishing the slave trade in all U.S. possessions. That's really interesting. So while we were busy fighting ourselves in the Civil War, we signed a treaty with our former enemies, ending a crime against humanity. So that's really intriguing. So, 1868, the Texas Constitutional Convention met in Austin. Okay. While that was going on, the Treaty of Bosque Redondo was signed, allowing the Navajo to return to their lands in Arizona and New Mexico. Good.
Oh wow.
Good. You know.
Still took it from them.
Yeah. Well, once we found oil or gold or something, you know. So, 1869, you know, and I want to reiterate, yes, the Native Americans got a bum deal. I'm not going to argue that. But if you take a step back and look into the perspective of all of history and see just how many dozens, hundreds, potentially thousands of entire peoples are just wiped from history and will never know of their existence, the natives, the fact that they're still around, they got to count their blessings. I mean, yeah, what they got was a bum deal, but the fact that they're still around versus so many instances of history of entire peoples and cultures being wiped off the map, count your blessings.
What you're saying is they're lucky they got some kind of settlement. I don't look at it that way.
But, you know,
history, everything is conquered.
It's good to be alive.
Yeah, your heritage.
It's good to be alive.
That part is true.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, there's always a silver lining to every black cloud.
I don't see it that way.
Well, then I guess you're more pessimistic than I am. Let's see here. 1869, Thomas Edison was granted his first patent for the electric vote recorder, U.S. patent 90,646. I wonder who he stole that from. So, 1872, Charles Abenau's expedition set off for the Hudson Bay overland, accompanied by 16 Amerindian canoeists. Amerindian? American Indian?
American Indian.
Amerindian? I've never heard that word.
It's got to be American Indian.
1872, like
spelling.
Amerindian.
It's got to be American Indian.
Let me look this up. Hold on a second. Amerindian, Indigenous Peoples of the Americas. Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's you know, I like that word. Like American Indian, Amerindian, like, and
still two syllables.
But we did not add a hyphen. So. They will be the first Europeans to reach it overland about 25 days later. Cool. 1877, the Society of American Artists was formed. That's pretty cool there. 1877 as well, U.S. troops were authorized to pursue bandits into Mexico. All right.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because this has to be way beforehand, but Patton, was involved in something that went into Mexico. He was chasing like El Chapo or whatever.
Yes,
Not El Chapo, but something.
On horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that was like in the 1890s or something.
Not El Chapo, but yeah.
Not El Chapo, but and this can't be when Patton was, because that would have made him like 30, 40 years old by the time World War I broke out.
Well, he wasn't.
Which would have made him 80. Well, no, he wasn't a general in World War One.
Not World War One.
No,
he was in World War I.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was like a colonel or something. I don't remember.
I think.
Yeah. There's a picture of him with a pipe. Actually, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it. It's a really cool picture. Like everybody knows Patton from World War II. Patton.
But just while you're looking that up, and now we've offered the Mexicans to go back in with our army and get the cartels. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Not well thought out.
But yeah, here's a picture of Patton, with like one of the earlier tanks.
Yeah.
Like when things were traversing from equestrian to tanks, and he became a horse guy to a tank guy, a tank commander.
Yeah.
But there's this one early picture of him somewhere. I'm trying to find it, of him with a pipe. Well,
I wonder how old he was during the war. He's got to be in his 60s when he was. Probably early
that's
60s.
older. That's Douglas MacArthur over there.
Yeah.
There's a picture somewhere of him with a pipe somewhere. But hold on a second. George S. Patton, here we go. When was he born? 1909. Oh, that's his service. He was born in 1885, November 11th, 1885.
So the war was at 40?
Well, World War II,
we were in it.
When we declared in 1941, and we were...
Let's go 85 is 15, 65, 64, 65, 66.
Somewhere in there. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. He was an old man. No wonder he was so mad,
Hey, he was right there with his troops.
Yeah.
He had to be super energy guy.
Well, I mean, like, there's that one scene, in the movie Patton, where he's like, they're denying me this position when the whole world's at war? This will never happen for another millennium, Like, he wanted his glory. Anyway, 1879, Napoleon Eugene, the last dynastic Bonaparte, was killed serving with British forces in the Anglo-Zulu War. He was buried in Farringborough, Hampshire. Man, you want to talk about, like an ancestor rolling in his grave. The last dynastic Bonaparte, the guy descended from Napoleon himself, who, like, panicked the British, died while in service to the British.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How the family has fallen. 1880, the first pay telephone service in the United States was installed in New Haven, Connecticut. Huh.
A payphone?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and then they had some in New Brunswick, but they have weird coins over there, I think. 1880, U.S. Census was 50,155,783. All right. 1881, Bellphone opened the first Dutch telephone exchange. So, like, I guess, like, like the whole, like, switch thing, like telephone exchange, all that stuff. 1881 as well, ridden by outstanding English jockey Fred Archer, Iroquois won the Epsom Derby to become the first American-owned and bred horse to win a European classic race. USA! USA! We're finally in. 1886, the railroads of the southern United States converted 11,000 miles of track from a 5-foot rail gauge to standard gauge beginning on May 31st. So they're upgrading everything.
Yeah.
11,000 miles. That's a lot of work. 1888, California got its first seismograph. Really interesting. California is notoriously known for being a quake area.
Yeah.
We're not Quakers, but we have earthquakes. And along the Ring of Fire and everything, on the anniversary of the first recorded earthquake in the U.S.
Yeah, we got our seismograph.
Yeah,
I thought
cool.
they meant they wanted to see what the size of California was.
Okay. 1890, the U.S. Census was at 62,622,250. All right.
That's the population of what?
The U.S.
U.S., okay.
Yeah. It says the United States Census Bureau began using the Herman Hollerus tabulating machine to count census returns, which reminds me we're a little behind on showcasing the pictures. I have no idea what this was. Something to do with ships.
Is that the one that sank? I don't think so.
No, we had that other photo. This is a photo of the magnetic north.
Oh, okay. You way are behind.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of see like the northern lights, right there.
Yeah.
That's I think we're not there yet.
Let's go on.
Okay. 1898, Holy Caesar Ritz opened the Ritz Hotel in Paris, the first hotel with electricity on every floor and separate bathrooms. Ritz.
Wow.
Fashion sits.
Welcome to the Ritz.
Putting on the Ritz. God. I don't know the lyrics, but...
No, I just made it up. I knew it was the Ritz.
Yeah. 1907, we have negative 27 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 33 degrees Celsius in Sacramento, Argentina. It's a South American record. I wonder if it still stands today.
How much is it again?
Negative 27 Fahrenheit. That's cold.
So. That's really cold.
1908, John Crone began to walk around the perimeter of the U.S., which took 357 days. I'd like to do that one day, just walk around the entire perimeter of the U.S., Wonder if I can break that.
I wonder what the perimeter was then.
In 1908? Yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah.
Like, California wasn't part of it then.
You're right.
Still a hell of a walk.
Yeah, yeah. 1911, the first U.S. group insurance policy was written in Passaic, New Jersey. Great, thank you. That's what we need, insurance. 1913, the Serbian government concluded a 10-year treaty with Greece against Bulgaria. Serbia wished to pursue Macedonian aspirations with Greece's help. We have here from the other source, the Greek-Serbian Treaty of Alliance was signed, paving the way for the Second Balkan War. Wow. So, that's not good. 1916, the U.S. Senate confirmed Louis Brandeis for the Supreme Court of the United States by a vote of 47 to 22 over 4 months after his nomination. And this is from the other source, becoming the first Jew to be an associate justice.
Oh.
That's an interesting, thing to like we're all humans on this planet. Why are we segregating ourselves? The first woman, the first this, the first that.
Just like the first black, you can make that notoriety.
Yeah, but at the same time, now you're giving ammo. Like, if he did a bad job, they could be like, oh, well, he's the first Jew, and then that starts bleeding down a very...
Well, I can remember, because I can remember.
But see, like, like right here, I'm not sure if you can see it right there, but, like, you can read it. It says here, making him the first Jew to be an associate justice from our secondary source.
They made a big deal back in the day in the 60s. Kennedy, the first Catholic to be president.
But yeah.
So, I mean,
True.
I don't have a problem.
Well, that was the 60s, back when there was still, like...
Oh, they're recording history, so
Yeah.
a notoriety back then is
Yeah.
understandable. Now we don't care.
True.
Although Obama was the first black man, but that's,
Well, even
that's
though
color.
no, he's not a black guy. He's mixed. He's half black, half white. But we all focus on the color. We don't focus on the genetics.
Do we not recognize him as the first black president?
He shouldn't be recognized because he's not black. He's mixed. He's just as much white as he is black.
They called Clinton the first black president.
Well, that was a racial thing because of the saxophone or whatever.
No, because he was.
He was cool, whatever.
To the blacks.
Well, that's so stupid.
At
the end of the day, we're all humans. That's all I care about.
Okay.
I
agree with that.
So, 1917, Boston Braves first baseman Hank Gowdy was the first to achieve MLB play, or was the first active Major League Baseball player to enlist for service in World War I, and also the only player to fight in both World War I and World War II.
Whoa!
Wow!
Gowdy, way to go!
Wow! Yeah.
I hope they put you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. Like, the National Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame, just the Humanity Hall of Fame. And then now we have some Canadian history here. 1918, Canadian ace Billy Bishop downed 6 aircraft over a 3-day span, including German ace Paul Billick, reclaiming his top-scoring title from James McCudden. All right.
Was he then a pilot? Is that what they're talking
about? Yeah. Okay. You have to be a pilot. And he was the first World War flying ace.
Well, you could be on the ground bringing down planes.
No, to be an ace, you have to be shooting them down.
True.
So... But it says here he was the first World War flying ace. So the first ace ever in a world theater of war was a Canadian.
How about
You know,
that?
well, I mean, like, you know, Canadian, like they're
Go Canucks.
well, the Canadians are known to be lunatics, especially in a war setting. They're
Wait.
incredibly violent people.
I thought
so
we were.
apologetic.
Canadians are known for their greatness, of being wonderful people. Everybody admires them and looks up to them, aspires to be Canadian.
Okay, Jordy. 1919, Prohibition came into force in Finland. You know, because that's right after World War I. So never mind. I was going to make a whole thing about that's what we need to worry about in the middle of a world war is Prohibition, but no, it's after it. So, yeah. 1922, over 50,000 fascists gathered for a meeting in Bologna, whatever, where Mussolini warned that he will lead a full-scale revolt against a government favoring anti-fascist reaction. All right, yeah, that's yeah, they knew that they were the bad guys, so they're just trying to
Rule by the sword.
Yep. But as the saying goes, you live by the sword,
You die by the sword.
there you go. 1922 as well, the Royal Ulster Constabulary was founded. And I believe, like, that's not the first modern military, but it's something to do, well, not military, police force, but that is some kind of police force. It's important for some reason, like, it's in my mind for some reason. You know, let me look this up here really quick. I know we're already 40 minutes in and we're in 1920s, but
Wow.
I just,
Way behind.
yeah. It was the police force in Northern Ireland from 1922 to 2001. Oh, okay. So maybe they're in my mind because I covered when they ended. I'm not sure. Anyway, 1923, New York Giants routed the Philadelphia Phillies 22-5 at the Baker Bowl. The first time in 20th century a Major League Baseball team has scored in every inning. All right. 1 century ago, we're in our last 100 years. All right. 1925, future New York Yankees Hall of Famer Lou Gehrig pinch hits for the shortstop Pee Wee Wanenegi in a 5-3 loss to Washington. First of recorded 2,132 consecutive games. Wow. Consecutive. So,
Yes.
wow. 1927, the Peace Bridge between U.S. and Canada opens. And I know I have these photos. Here it is, Peace Bridge, right there. And was this the? That's something else. Oh wait. Okay, well, at least here's the Peace Bridge, an aerial photo.
Modern.
Well, I mean, like it's from 1927, so the photo is modern, of course, but this bridge, that's the Peace Bridge, that's going over the border, the U.S. and Canada. So, what else do we got here? 1929, the first conference of the Communist Parties of Latin America was held in Buenos Aires. All right. 1930, the Deacon Queen was introduced as first intercity train between Bombay, VC, now Mumbai, CST, and Pune, to run on electric locomotives. I'm not sure if this is talking about the first one in that specific location or the first one ever, if this is the first intercity train to use electric locomotives in the world.
Yeah.
So, wording, English language, difficult. 1935, compulsory driving test and license plates was introduced in the United Kingdom. All right, good.
Yeah.
So, 1936, Queen Mary completed its maiden voyage, arriving in New York. And we were talking about, or I was talking about this on Thursday. That's when I think it set sail. I'm not sure if it only took 2 days. Or maybe I was covering it earlier in the week. I'm not sure. But the Queen Mary is now, out here permanently moored in Long Beach.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
I
It is.
I saw that lean. Thank God there wasn't a family back there.
Inside joke, sorry.
Yeah. 1939, the first major boxing match on U.S. television is the heavyweight bout from New York Yankees Stadium between former world champion Max Baer and Lou Nova. Nova wins by technical knockout in the 11th
Max
round.
Baer had to be low. Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
and I do have a photo of this right here. I don't know why they didn't all come over, but here's a photo of that match right there.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. What else do we got here? 1939, the first night MLB game took place at Philadelphia's Shrine Park. Phillies lost 5-2 in Pittsburgh Pirates. Didn't we already cover the first night game in MLB history? Or is this the first night game specifically to that park? once
It
again
doesn't
worded.
say it's his first night game.
Yeah,
Not for that. It would say for that park.
took
First
place.
night game is first night game.
But we have, I remember specifically, we
It
have
was
covered.
last year.
No, just like a week ago or so.
Oh.
We talked about the first, and it said in the article, first night game in MLB history. So this is first night MLB game took place at Philadelphia. So I'm wondering if this is, the record for that stadium.
Yeah, that could be with the way it's written. Okay.
But
could
now
be that.
now we have two articles claiming the same thing. Which one is
Well,
it?
no, it took place at that stadium. Could be different.
Yes,
It's not saying the first.
that's why I'm asking.
Now that
Is
I
this
read-
the?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's why I'm
I don't
saying
know, don't care.
phrasing. Well, I kind of do. I mean,
The way it's read, it could mean at that stadium.
yes, that's why I'm saying. 1939, the first flight of the German Focke-Wulf FW-190 fighter aircraft. That's what this says
Yeah.
here. Oh. Then 1940, coffee and tea was rationed in Holland. Oh no,
Ooh.
that's not good. 1940 as well, Nazi occupiers kicked Jews out of Dutch Air Guard. Oh, that's expected from
Yeah.
the Nazis.
Yeah.
1941, British troops occupied Baghdad, Iraq. Now this is interesting. I would have normally, been like, okay, whatever, but from our other source here, and this is not exactly pertaining to this article, but I think it has something to do with it. The Farhud, a massive pogrom in Iraq, started, and as a result, many Iraqi Jews were forced to leave their homes. So we're talking about British troops occupying Baghdad in Iraq, and then we have a pogrom against the Jews happening in Iraq in a different area. Are these connected? I don't know. That's a good question.
point.
So, 1941, Germany banned all Catholic publications. That's something that a lot of people don't realize. Whenever we talk about World War II or Germany, the Nazis, they went after the Jews, blah, blah. They went after the Catholics, the Christians, the mentally handicapped. They went after the physically disabled. They went after the gypsies. They predominantly went after the Jews, but they did not only go after the Jews.
They
We
wanted
got
a pure Aryan society.
Yes.
And Aryan, ironically, was totally fictitious.
Yeah, and despite Hitler, being half Jewish
Say
himself,
enough and they'll believe you.
yeah, a lie said 1,000 times becomes the truth. So, 1941, Germany occupied Crete after an Allied evacuation. And from our other source here, it says during World War II, the Battle of Crete ended as Crete capitulated to Germany. So I guess they held out until the troops and anybody that they needed to get out of there was out of there, leaving behind a skeleton crew to hand over the keys. Somebody has to be there to take the L somehow. So, 1943, Germany shot down a civilian flight from Lisbon to London. 13 passengers, including actor Leslie Howard, and 4 crew died. And so we have the BOAC Flight 777 was shot down over the Bay of Biscay by German Junkers Ju-88s, killing British actor Leslie Howard and leading to speculation that it was actually an attempt to kill British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. So they were trying to get him. So, and it could have been it could have been a whole decoy thing. It could have been they thought there was a VIP, it's an actor, but we don't know who the VIP is. Maybe it's Churchill. They shot it down, but it wasn't that type of a VIP.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
The fog of war, so to say. 1943, Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher Rip Sewell patented his EFIS, or blooper ball pitch, used pitch on a way to a 20-win campaign.
Wow.
Blooper ball pitch. Let's see if there's a...
They call that a change-up today, but that blooper
a
ball's
change-up.
Well, that's got to be a blooper ball's got to be a major change-up.
Hilarious baseball... Well, that's just a baseball blooper. So...
But I like his handle, Rip.
Yeah, Rip Sewell. Yeah, his name. 1944, Nazi occupiers made it punishable to give aid to Allied pilots. Oh, that reminds me of when a certain descendant of Fidel Castro, who leads the country or who led the country to the north, punished everybody who tried to help the truckers.
Yeah.
The honking.
That was just horrid.
So yeah, 1944 as well, Washington Senators MLB outfielder Stan Spence went 6 for 6 in an 11-5 win over the St. Louis Browns, collected 5 singles and a home run. All right. 1946, Ion Antescu, conductor or leader of Romania during World War II, was executed. 1947, OPA, which issued World War II rationing coupons, disbanded. Okay.
And that's here in this state?
I don't know. It's just some organization, OPA. So,
Because here they had rationing and it wasn't even needed, but they just want everybody to pitch in
Well,
for
I mean, we talked about
war.
Holland rationing coffee and tea in 1940, so everybody was rationing something.
But they did
And
it
actually,
here so everybody would feel part of the war effort.
Yeah. Now, actually, I learned something new. Like on a whim, the other day I randomly took like a World War II quiz, and one of the questions was, "What was the first thing the United States rationed because of the war?"
Butter.
Wrong. It was rubber, due to the stuff happening involving the Japanese in the Philippines. And apparently that was a huge rubber plantation and all that stuff.
Yeah. A lot of it
So,
came from there.
so our first item, I'm not talking about like food or
Right,
this, but the
right,
first
right.
item period the United States specifically rationed because of the war was rubber. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now we don't give a rip about rubber plants.
Yeah. Well. 1947, the development of photosensitive glass, which had occurred 10 years previously, was announced publicly, and that's we have somehow getting photos onto glass. And here's an example: a vase, and we have a photo of some person jumping off a cliff or
It's
something.
like they're skiing.
That's a sheer face right there. It looks like I see they're climbing a rope ladder or something right there.
Maybe so.
Well, I can clearly see the rungs.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
I can't from here.
zoom in.
No, that's okay.
Anyway, what else do we got here? 1950, the Chicago fire was ignited. By September, it would become the largest single fire on record in North America. Wow. And as a Californian, I'm surprised I don't know more about fire history and all that stuff. Wondering if we have any more. Oh, I do. 11,000 kilometers is about 6,800 miles.
Yep.
So I wonder what article we were talking about involving that. But
Walking is something.
Oh yeah, okay.
Was that that wasn't it.
Well, walking around the
Yeah, but
then I think
that
so.
wasn't it though.
Oh no.
Something
That was the guy who was doing one lap from his house. One hour, one lap, 1 mile.
Oh yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. Let's see here. 1951, the first self-contained titanium plant opened in Henderson, Nevada. All right. 1951, and I should have stayed on this picture. The International Cheese Treaty was signed.
what the heck is that?
I was literally going to say the exact same thing. The International Cheese Treaty.
Should have been in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, I'm just getting a bunch of social
Where all
media
the
links.
cheese heads.
So yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah. If anyone can let us know more about this, let us know in the comments. 1951 as well, Massey Communication issued its landmark report in Canada, advocating for funding wide range of cultural activities, resulting in the founding of the National Library of Canada. All right.
Oh, okay.
We have quite a bit of Canadian history today, actually, and we're not done with it yet. 1958, Charles de Gaulle was elected Premier of France. And Charles de Gaulle came out of retirement to leave France by decree for 6 months. 1959, Constitution of Tunisia was promulgated. This is their national day, so happy National Day, Tunisia.
Yeah.
1959, two-time defending champion Monterrey, Mexico, ruled ineligible to compete in Little League Baseball World Series for using players outside predetermined geographical area. So technicalities and all that stuff,
Yeah.
1961, FM multiplex stereo broadcasting first heard. So FM as opposed to AM radio. Is this when the first, FM radio?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1961, as I mentioned, the Canadian Bank of Commerce and Imperial Bank of Canada merged to form the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, the largest bank merger in Canadian history. All right. 1962, SS officer Adolf Eichmann was executed in Israel after being found guilty of war crimes.
Yeah.
Now, I wish 72 was here because he talked with me a whole bunch about stuff. Apparently, during the Nuremberg trials, they never brought up anything involving the Holocaust. They use other, I'm not speaking on his behalf. That's why I wished he was here. Maybe he'll leave some comments and all that stuff. But, it's a whole thing. So, they didn't use any of the extermination camps and all that stuff. They used other things to convict all these people, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and all that stuff. But right here it says Adolf Eichmann, former SS officer in Nazi Germany, was hanged in Israel for having committed crimes against humanity, war crimes, and other offenses. But they didn't bring up anything involving the Holocaust, according to 72. I don't know. I'm not.
Could be they only used enough to convict him. Of hanging. How many times can you hang them?
Yeah. Well,
So for whatever reason.
well, I mean, like, how many life sentences can you indict on people?
Right.
You know, but we're gonna talk about that here in a minute. There's some article in the here that some guy got sentenced to like 200 something consecutive life sentences. That is beyond gratuitous.
Yeah.
You know, so how many life sentences can somebody serve? So, in 1963, Jomo Kenyatta was sworn in as the first Prime Minister of the Dominion of Kenya, and we're going to be talking about Kenya here again in a second. But first, we have 1964. The Rolling Stones arrived in New York's Kennedy International Airport for their first U.S. tour, greeted by about 500 fans.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't realize they came here that early. I thought it would have been 65.
No, well, I mean, just 1 year off.
Well,
So
that's a big time
yeah.
for rock and rollers.
Now, speaking of 1 year and everything, 365 days after I just spoke about it, 1964, Kenya became a republic with Jomo Kenyatta as its first president.
Ah,
Now,
okay.
do you notice anything interesting with his name?
No.
Kenyatta.
Ah.
Kenya.
Ah, okay.
He is the founder of Kenya.
Ah, Kenyatta.
And that family ruled that country not really as a monarchy, but as a voted-in monarchy. Like they had, it was a republic.
Yeah.
So they had voting and everything. I don't think it was really because Jomo Kenyatta historically, I think, is beloved. I don't think he was a dictator or anything.
Right.
So that family ruled that country by the will of the people for a while. I'm not sure if it's still in that family or if it's been voted in other people, but.
Well,
yeah,
it's like California, in my opinion, is run by 6 families.
that's
Now,
not
we
an
have
opinion.
elections.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So, well, that's what I'm saying. We have elections. Well, so did the Soviet Union and Cuba.
Yeah.
So does China. So does North Korea. Has elections. So, but are they though? That's the point I'm making. 1965, Arno Penzias and Robert Woodrow Wilson at Bell Labs detected 3 degrees Kelvin primordial background radiation, helping confirm the Big Bang Theory. Later received the Nobel Prize in 1978, 13 years after the finding. So, the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave radiation background, whatever it's called. 1967, Mayor Council form of government instituted for Washington, D.C. Okay, that's interesting.
Very.
I mean, that's our capital.
Yeah.
And because technically Washington D.C. is not is not part of the United States. They are the District of Columbia. They are an outside thing that governs the states, but they are not self-governing. That's why we have the mayor council, and for a while, the people in Washington D.C. couldn't even vote in national elections because they are not part of the sovereign nation.
Right.
They are part of the thing that controls the nation, but not part of the nation itself.
Washington D.C. does not have representation in the
Did not.
in the Congress.
Did not. Or do they still not?
Do not.
But they can vote in certain things.
Oh, they can. They vote for president, but they
Yeah.
do not have a
Yeah.
congressman.
But
or
it wasn't
senator.
until the 90s before they could even vote for the president, right? It was.
That I'm not sure. That
So-
doesn't make sense. I would be
Well-
very surprised if that were the case.
When could Washington D.C. vote president? 23rd Amendment of the United States extends the right to participate in presidential elections to the District of Columbia. When was this? Amendment was proposed by the 86th Congress on June 16, 1960, and it was ratified by the requisite number of states on March 29, 1961. So I was off by 30 years, but it wasn't until 1961.
That's still really new.
Yes.
I'm really surprised.
Yes. So
Now
until
they
then,
want to make it a state and have congressmen and senators. And,
but then
no.
if you make it a state, you're getting rid of the whole reason why we have it's not in a state because of the whole North versus South thing way back in the day.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
It's a power move for
Yes.
because it's a very democratic city.
They need
And
to
they
be,
can solve it very easy. There's Delaware, there's Virginia, all these come
Yeah.
in. You can just expand those states and just leave out the government property.
Yep. Moving on up to 1968, St. Louis Cardinals side arming left-hander Joe Horner tied National League record for most consecutive strikeouts by a relief pitcher, fanning the final 6 batters to earn a 6-5 victory over the New York Mets. That's pretty good.
It's damn good.
Yeah. 1969, tobacco advertising was banned on
Yep.
Canadian radio and
Canadian.
TV, specifically Canada. I'd say it's Canada Day for some reason in today's show.
Well, we banned it
So-
on our things too. I don't know what year.
We did eventually, but
I
this
think
is
ours was in the 60s.
yeah. 1972, Iraq nationalized Iraq Petroleum Company, IPC, concession owned by British Petroleum, Royal Dutch Shell, Compagnie Francois de Petros, Mobil, and Standard Oil of New Jersey. Those are a lot of big names, and their involvements involved in this really concerns me. 1972, Tswana became Botswana in South Africa. I've heard of Botswana. Can't really pronounce them that much. So, 1972, Arab oil ministers decided to end most restrictions on exports of oil to the United States, but continued embargo against the Netherlands, Portugal, South Africa, and Rhodesia. Now, is this something involving the oil crisis or the oil glut? I know the oil crisis was in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, the whole odd even license plate number thing. But would this be that, or is this after that? Is this what caused it? Like what is this? Because you lived it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the dates. It's probably part of it.
Yeah. Because this is when they ended most restrictions on exports, and wasn't the oil?
So this is when it's ending.
Yes. So is that after? And then when the glut came, because everybody was practicing conservatism to the extreme, we ended up with a glut because people weren't consuming as much as normal.
That well could be, but I don't remember that nearly as well as the
Yeah.
the Arabs put it to us for sure.
Yeah. 1974, the Heimlich maneuver for rescuing choking victims was published on the journal Emergency Medicine. Yes.
Good.
So up into the sternum,
Yeah.
backing up in one swift motion. You
also do it yourself if you have to go up to a doorknob or something like that and push.
And what's really sick is that there have been so many lawsuits of people suing others who literally saved their lives because the Heimlich maneuver broke their ribs. Oh, I'm sorry for saving your life, and you're going to sue me for breaking your ribs. Maybe I should have let you choke to death.
Yeah.
Would you be happy now?
Yeah.
Or like CPR, you break the rib cage a little bit to, oh, I'm sorry, my restarting your heart allowed you to breathe. Now you're going to sue my ass. Maybe I should have just let you die.
That was like
you
that
stupid
pool lifeguard that they ended up suing for saving their kid's life.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do it sooner.
Or the other story I told you about, that one lifeguard who saved somebody's life off the clock and he got fired for it.
Yeah, there you go.
So stupid. 1975, cars in the Netherlands were required to have seatbelts. All right. So, 1976, Great Britain and Iceland ended the Cod War. What's the Cod War? Well, we're already over our hour, so if anybody can let us know in the comments section, that'd be great. Speaking of comments, we do have the pigeon. Oh, the pigeon! The 11,000 kilometer was the pigeon, the homing pigeon.
Right,
okay, thank you.
Yes.
It's about the pigeon that flew.
One tired-ass pigeon.
Yeah. You said how much that was in miles, in freedom units, actually. 6,800 hamburgers per hot dogs. So, yeah. 1977, British Virgin Islands adopted a constitution.
Oh.
Okay. And I love you, Dad, but I have to be a good son and be a pain in the ass. 1978, England cricket fast bowler Chris Old became only the third man to capture 4 wickets and 5 balls in a test, as Pakistan dismissed for 164 in first test at Eggbasaston. Old 5 for 70. I don't know what that means.
Does anybody know what we're talking about?
Well,
no, it's cricket.
Now I like to say this after every cricket article. If you read something verbatim, it's English. It's English, but it doesn't make any sense. And your brain still feels like you're suffering a stroke, don't worry, it's just cricket. So, 1978, the first international applications under the Patent Cooperation Treaty were filed. Okay. 1979, Ted Coombs began 5,193-mile roller skate from Los Angeles to New York City. I think I covered that not too long ago, something about roller skating or whatever. That's a long skate.
Yeah.
1979, the first black-led government of Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, in 90 years took power. What a thought! Let the natives govern themselves.
Yeah.
What an idea. So, 1980, first baseman Steve Garvey hit the 7,000th Brooklyn/LA Dodger home run and a 9-5 loss at home to Atlanta Braves. So they lost at home, but they still got their 7,000th thing. So
Steve Garvey just ran for the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, I voted for him.
So did I, but he's
a
terrible candidate.
Well,
he was horrible. Why did he run if you weren't going to put in the effort?
Well, he was better than Gavin. piece of shit.
Gavin's the governor. It has nothing to do with the Senate.
Oh, okay. Well, whoever we had for Senate, like whoever's in California government, wherever they are, they're awful. I don't care. You know,
we have Shifty Schiff now. Who won that election?
I want Larry Elder. Oh, yeah.
He may run for governor.
I'm going to vote for him then. 1981, Jaffna Public Library, repository of Tamil culture and one of the largest libraries in Asia, was burnt to the ground by Sinhalese crowd. Yeah, I hate that. You know, like just all these old. There is some. We covered this earlier this week. Some really old cathedral built in like the 1200s in Eastern Germany.
Okay.
Got destroyed by the freaking communists to make way for some building or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the communists they cannot build anything. They can only destroy. You know, as a orange man said, everything woke turns to shit. I guarantee you that. 1982, Oakland A's left fielder Ricky Henderson stole 2 bases in a 3-2 win over Boston Red Sox to become the fastest to reach 50 stolen bases in an MLB season. Does that record still stand today?
Probably. I know he has the most stolen bases now. He took it away from Maury Wills, which is my beloved Dodger.
1985, Weird Al Yankovic released his Dare to Be Stupid album. And I know you don't care about Weird Al, but I put that in because I most certainly dare to be stupid. I am an idiot. 1987, Cleveland Indians pitcher Phil Niekro defeated the Detroit Tigers 9-6 for his 314th MLB victory, combined with Joe Niekro, 216, for most combined wins by brothers in baseball history at 530. That's cool.
Yeah.
The Niekro brothers, which
Niekro.
Which that is a very very questionable name to say in today's world. You know. You don't want to mispronounce it.
Oh God!
And,
Move on, please.
1988, European Central Bank was founded in Brussels. I'm pretty sure we talked about the European Central Bank being formed already before and somewhere else. So I don't know. We have another discrepancy here historically. 1988, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty came into effect. Okay. 1990, Cowboy Channel on cable TV began transmitting.
Wow.
I guess there was a demand enough about cowboy content. So, 1990, during the Cold War, George H.W. Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev signed the treaty to end chemical weapon production. All right. 1992, E-lamps, a 20-year light bulb, was introduced despite, the Centennial light, a light bulb that's well over 100 years old, that's still burning. And, there's, look into this, viewers. It's not even conspiracy. This is documented fact that the light bulb industry intentionally gives us technologically backwards products so they can guarantee sales. We have light bulb technology where it will last you for your whole life, but then they won't sell another one. So they intentionally give us what's planned obsolescence.
There you go.
To guarantee sales. We need to be running these people out. We don't need this crap.
Well, if they give you that lamp, they will be out.
Well, they should be out. 1993, Brooklyn, New York began recycling. Okay.
Yeah.
1993 as well, the Phoenix Suns guard Dan Majerle set a then NBA playoff record by sinking 8 3-pointers during the Suns' 120-114 win.
Dan Marley, yeah.
Yes, over Seattle in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Well, I brought this in because it said a then NBA playoff record. Remember our first episode of I'm Okay, You're Okay? We were talking about 3-pointers and if what to do with them, because they've algorithm. That's my point. They've algorithm the hell out of that game, and now it's not even a will they, won't they. It's like how many. It's not a surprise anymore. It's not a shock. In 1993, we have the Dobrzyna mortar attack. 13 were killed and 133 were wounded when Serb mortar shells were fired at a soccer game in Dobrzyna, west of Sarajevo. Wow, so you go watch some football and you ended up getting shelled. That's awful.
Yeah.
1994, the Republic of South Africa became a republic in the Commonwealth of Nations. Okay. 1993, U.S. actor Woody Harrelson was arrested in Lee County, Kentucky, after he symbolically planted 4 hemp seeds to challenge the state law, which did not distinguish between industrial hemp and marijuana. So because the state law did not, still broke the law, and I don't even want to get into the whole like hemp thing and all that stuff. That's a whole. I would like to talk that actually on IOYO at some point. Talk about the whole marijuana industry and how hemp can single-handedly overnight destroy entire multi-trillion-dollar industries like textiles, fabrics, construction materials, lumber, all sorts of things. Like that's why it's illegal.
Well, he obviously did that to get arrested too.
Well, it was a stunt to prove a point,
Exactly.
And I'm on his side. So, 1998, Australian Susie Maroney became the first person to swim from Mexico to Cuba across shark and jellyfish-infested waters off the Yucatan Straits, swam 123 miles in 38 hours, 33 minutes in a cage. So while she was in a cage, still, now only an Australian would be badass enough to swim through shark-infested waters. Granted, she was in protection, but she's also dragging that protection with her.
No, I think she can. It's a fairly large cage. I mean, and it's going to be moved with her in some way by a boat. It's going to be towing it.
I don't know, because then you can say, oh, is the boat towing her? Is she sitting in the cage? Like,
No.
So, you know what? Let me look up that article really quick. I want to see a picture if there is a. I'm pretty sure she was like in like a self-bubbled cage or something. Well, it's not showing me.
You'll give us a picture of the cage? You're kidding me.
And it's just giving me a bunch of pictures of the swimmer and her various swimming feats, and so let me see if I can actually just
It's
find.
not going to be huge, but it's going to be plenty of room in there.
Woman swims Yucatan Channel. Okay, here we go. But it's not giving me any pictures. Okay, here we go. There's a video
June
on
1,
this.
1998.
Okay, well, it's just. Wait, hold on a second. She's in a thermal blanket in this one. There are videos, but. Well, I guess we're just not going to get any pictures of the cage, so oh well. 1998, European Central Bank was founded in Brussels to define and execute the European Union's monetary policy. Time out. This is what I was talking about. We just talked about 1988, European Central Bank was founded in Brussels. 1998, European Central Bank was founded in Brussels. Which one is it? We have a 10-year discrepancy. Same
point.
thing. So.
Now the French are screaming to get out of the European Union.
Yeah, well, that was just a system of control. 2000, we were in the home stretch. The last 25 years,
Wow.
the Patent Law Treaty, PLT, was signed. All right. 2001, Nepalese royal massacre. Crown Prince Dipendra of Nepal slaughtered his parents, 2 siblings, and 5 other family members during a dinner at Narahari Palace in Kathmandu. Gee, and I thought
Good Lord.
I got off wrong with my family. Yikes. I better count my blessings here. At least they're not trying to kill me, to my knowledge. 2003, the People's Republic of China began filling the reservoir behind the Three Gorges Dam.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And now that dam is buckling and all that stuff, and so.
That's a rumor.
Well, no, there's pictures. Like there's cracks, and it actually shows. It shows like because there's a photo of the dam. Like
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Bowing a bit, but I think it's been disproven a bit.
I don't know. Side view.
It'd be absolutely devastating.
Yeah. Well, let's see if I can find. Oh yeah, here it is. So 2008. It's showing. Like actually, let me see if I can
I've
open
seen
up.
That picture.
Yeah, it's straight, and then here you can legitimately see that there's curves. So like it's breaking, and China is not known to be the leader of the world in architectural prowess.
Well,
let's say.
there's a lot of foobar going on in the government.
Yeah.
A lot of graphs, so stuff doesn't get done that's supposed to be done to meet
Oh, a lot of
spec.
cut corners. And,
Yeah, and then keep the money in your pocket. But that's one of the things that. What's the island off China there?
Taiwan.
Taiwan says that they don't say it, but one of the things they may do if attacked is attack the dam, 3 Mile Island Dam, because that'd be devastating to the country.
Rome first matters. What does that mean?
What?
Well, we have a comment from Toxic
Oh.
Masculinity. Rome first matters. I guess he's talking about when we were discussing, like, do we celebrate, like territory or state or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
so
okay,
I don't know. If you're still here, if you don't mind elaborating and reminding us what we're talking about, because we cover so much stuff, I can't remember every little thing. So, in 2004, this is what I was talking about earlier, Oklahoma City bombing co-conspirator Terry Nichols was sentenced to 161 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. I get it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that is beyond gratuitous. So, 2005, the longest oil/natural gas explosion in the Houston, Texas area occurred in Crosby, Texas. The drill was owned by the Louisiana Oil and Gas Company. So I guess the longest continuously explosion in that specific area. 2008, a fire at the back lot of a Universal Studios Hollywood destroyed several icons from movies, such as Courthouse Square, the Clock Tower from Back to the Future, and the King Kong exhibit in the studio tower. A large archive of master tapes from music and film was also torched. The full extent was not revealed until 2019.
Uh-huh.
Yikes.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So they downplayed it, I guess.
Exactly. You know, they don't want people to know that, you know, like, a great deal of our media history is gone forever, you know. And
do you remember going there?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, actually, like, if you want, you can grab my banana hat over there, because I got that when my friend Bonnie, and I remember I went up to Universal with her.
Yeah, okay.
And she bought me that banana hat there, Universal Studios up in Hollywood.
Yeah,
well, we went there before as well,
yeah.
you know. Like, we've been to Disneyland multiple times, Six Flags. Kim took me to Six Flags. I've been to Universal. Wow.
Yeah, never went there.
Yeah, Knott's Berry Farm.
Kim took you there, yeah.
Yeah, Kim took me there a couple of times. So, been to Knott's Berry Farm, been to Knott's Scary Farm. You know, been to a lot of places. So, 2009, General Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the fourth largest bankruptcy in U.S. history. Yep. And then they got bailed out by taxpayer dollars, and in turn they fired those taxpayer, payers, and, it's just awful. These people need to be chased down in the streets. I swear.
Too big to fail.
No, nothing is ever too big to fail. That is bullshit.
I agree with that.
That's just runaway capitalism mentality. 2011, the Space Shuttle Endeavour made its final landing after 25 flights. All right.
Oh, wow.
It's not a lot of flights when you think about it.
Oh, I think so. Going to space 25 times. That's a bunch.
Yeah, true. 2012, Johan Santana threw the first no-hitter in the New York Mets' 50-year MLB history when he defeated the St. Louis Cardinals 8-0. All right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
2016, Switzerland's Gotthard base tunnel was completed, the world's longest at 57 kilometers, at a cost of 11 billion euros, also the most expensive. Okay, kind of goes hand in hand. 2017, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the U.S. is withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement.
Good.
All right. What was the Paris Climate Agreement?
Well, so much emissions by such and such a day.
Okay.
Hammering the U.S. for it.
Okay, yeah. So just bullshit. More propaganda.
Power.
Yep. 2018, Rosen al-Najjar, a 22-year-old Palestinian medic, was shot and killed by Israeli forces on the Gaza border, causing widespread condemnation. Nobody talks about stuff like this because, Israel can do no wrong. Yeah, sure.
Doesn't say what he did either.
He was a medic. They killed him to prevent him. They did a war crime, essentially. 2018, U.S. employment rate fell to 3.8%, lowest since 2000, but that's just a bullshit number because they don't count the actual people who are not filing, who are not looking for jobs, who are just, who
have given up.
People like me. I'm not collecting any government aid. I'm not sucking the tit of big mommy government. I am not, doing anything like that, but I'm not bothering looking for work because where I'm at, they don't hire people like me because of societal norms and things I was born with and I'm not using properly according to them, like so many things. Then there's AI and robotics and all this stuff taking place. And then what really pisses me off is that, remember I talked with you yesterday, that one company is going to be paying robots $50,000 in annual salary.
Yeah, I can't get
the whole point of not having human employees over robots is because you're not paying them, so you're going to fire the humans and pay the robots. Are you out of your mind? Yeah, oh my God.
What else you got?
2019, the price of a movie ticket raised in Japan for the first time in 26 years from 1,800 yen to 1,900 yen, while some cinemas kept the price the same. You know, that's very much like our movie theater before they closed down and became a Tesla dealership, Cinema City.
Yeah.
They had the $5, and not just on Sunday, but five. Like,
It was in the morning.
in the morning matinees. If you came in and saw, like all the way up until 2018 or whenever they were open, like. Ever since I was in high school, like I graduated high school in 2005, but while I was in high school, I went to that theater because $5 movies. So for the next 20 years, or almost 20 years, like $5 movies. 2015, still $5 movies. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
they still have morning matinees that are cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 2020, U.S. President Donald Trump threatens to employ the military to quell protests across the country sparked by the death of George Floyd, then walks off stage of St. John's Church. Well, I mean, we're talking about St. Fentanyl here, so, yeah. 2021, prehistoric carvings between 4,000 and 5,000 years old depicting deer were found in Scotland for the first time at Kilmartin Glen in Argyll.
Go Scotland. All
Yeah.
right. Get a pint.
2021 U.S. President Joe Biden, and I'm not going to try to mimic him, visited Tulsa, Oklahoma, marking 100-year anniversary of racial massacre in the Greenwood neighborhood. Wow. Okay. 2021 as well, Brandon's administration suspended oil and gas leases in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, reversing Donald Trump's decision. Doesn't surprise me. Stupid. This is the same guy who released our oil reserves, like, trying to reduce the money. No, it won't reduce shit. You're just trying to make us more dependent on other countries and trying to destroy us. Simple. The proof is in the pudding, Brandon. 2022, Turkey officially changed its name to Turkey at the United Nations and internationally. So, if you've been calling Turkey for the past 2 years, as of this date, it's not Turkey, it's Turkey or whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce that. So, I'll just call them the Ottomans, or what were they? The Persians. I'll just call them the Persians, So, 2022, the U.S. Coast Guard Admiral Linda Fagan assumed the post of Commandant, becoming the first female commander of a U.S. military branch. All right.
Good for her.
Yeah. 2023, the U.S. Congress passed bipartisan legislation raising $31.4 trillion debt ceiling, avoiding a default after deal struck between Brandon and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Yeah. Wasn't McCarthy a turncoat? Like, he was the guy with the eye patch, right?
No.
Maybe I'm thinking about somebody else.
He
I'm not talking about
wasn't-
McCarthyism. I'm talking about our McCarthy, recent McCarthy.
he was the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, well,
And he fell out of favor and then didn't rerun for re-election, but he never was a turncoat.
I'm thinking about somebody else.
Still a Republican today.
He's a rhino then or something, right? Or
Yeah, you could put him in that category, but maybe, that's iffy.
yeah, I don't know. We have quite a bit. Hey, Osabe! Hey! I also never heard that from the freaking clock tower from Back to the Future was destroyed. You think that at least would have been in the news? Yeah, I didn't hear about
no
that either.
kidding.
Too big to fail just means I have too many connections for them to let me fail. Yes. Japan almost never raises prices on anything. Plastic models that have been that he has been buying forever finally raised their prices to $1 or $2 a couple years ago, and it's still called Turkey. They just want us Westerners to spell it like they do. Oh, okay. So it's still
okay. I'm glad someone put that in there.
Dan
Thank
Crenshaw is the eye patch guy I was thinking of.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And what was the question I had for 72 earlier? Like,
I don't remember.
I don't remember,
Too
but
long ago.
yeah.
Too many articles.
Yeah,
ago.
but our last but not least article here, we have in 2022, just last year, world's largest ever election ended in India after 6 weeks with 642 million people voting in the country's general election, including a record 312 million women. Wow. The vote counters have that work cut out for them. But then that makes you wonder, did they have people? Were they counting right? Did they have machines? Were the machines counting right? How do you count 364 million or 342 million votes correctly?
You go. Edison, earlier in an article,
Edison
invented the electronic voting counting machine, right?
No, that was something else.
I think.
No. Edison. No. Hold on a second.
Don't go back. But anyways, now we want to go back to paper ballots.
Oh, you're right. His patent for his first electric vote recorder.
Vote recorder, yeah. Now we
Yeah.
want to go back to paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
When we should. Holy.
don't fix what ain't broken. You know, I don't know.
And vote in one day. If you can't make it in one day,
Unless you're serving or you're crippled
no,
or whatever.
Yeah,
But if you're able-bodied and you're not tied up with government work, then go out there and vote. Otherwise, shut your mouth. You know, you have the right to vote. Exercise your rights. That's it. So, anyway, that shall conclude the show. Please check the underbar of the description for any links that you may be interested in, including but not limited to all things Omni Coalition. A lot of things happen, and continues to happen on a daily basis. We can only bring you a portion. And, we have a couple of our sources, down there. Check them out, for anything that you may find interesting, all that stuff. For all of you and all of us, I am A.O. Xander.
Golden Loon.
And we stream this whenever we stream it. It's mostly daily at 11 in the morning Pacific time, which is 12 noon Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, you can scroll all the way back down here. Yeah. So shout out to 72, to Toxic Masculinity, to Sir Bops right here, and anybody else who's watching. Thank you very much, and until you catch us next time, whenever that is, wherever that is, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, rate 5 thumbs, and subscribe. Toodles! In a second, I keep doing this. There we go, in the stream, and here we go.